This video will be about the basics of Blender and how to make your first ever Roblox UGC concept. Well, not necessarily. If you already know the basics, this can still definitely teach you something, and I would recommend still following along. But yeah, if you don't know anything about Blender, I'm going to teach you here how you can get started. The first thing you want when making a Roblox UGC concept is you want a dummy. In the middle of your scene, you need a dummy, like a Roblox character, so that you can actually start to scale everything properly. So to import a dummy, basically what we're going to do here is we're going to go to Roblox Studio. In Roblox Studio, you want to navigate to the Avatar tab at the top of the page. Go to the Avatar tab and then click on it, and then click on Rig Builder. And once you click Rig Builder, you'll get this option, and you can pick whichever one you want. I'm going to be using Block Rig because I prefer the Block Rig personally. However, you can use whatever rig you want. Once you've imported it into your scene, you want to go to the properties of that rig and then go to the position and change the position to 0, 2.5, 0. This will just center it in your scene, allowing you to have everything in the center when you import it into Blender. Next, what you want to do is you want to go to the workspace and find the dummy in your workspace, right click on it, and then select Export Selection. When you do this, it will open up a file explorer and it will just allow you to save it to your files wherever you want it. That's it for Roblox Studio. We will not be needing it anymore, and you can now head to Blender. As you see here, I am in Blender, and this is where we want to import the dummy 2. One quick thing to describe the movement to you guys. If you've never used Blender before, it is quite strange, but you get used to it. You can use your scroll wheel and press down to like scroll around. So you do that to move. To zoom in, you scroll in, or like scroll forward, and to zoom out, you scroll back. As you can see now, you've got all the basic movement. If your camera's like somewhere around here in the middle of nowhere, just do Shift and C. And if you want to like move to the side, you can just do Shift and scroll wheel down and like move around like this and kind of pan around. This is very helpful. So you can kind of mix up all these controls we now know to move around your scene. Very quick and easy. Anyway, what we want to do now is we want to go to File, Import, and then go to Wavefront OBJ. Now you will see that it comes up with like a file explorer in Blender, and you want to go through to where you saved your dummy. As you can see, mine is here, and you see there's two files. There'll be dummy OBJ and dummy MTL. Basically, you just want to click on the dummy OBJ once. You can double click, but you just click on it once and then do import OBJ. And as you see now, this is imported to my scene. If you're trying to move around your character and you're kind of like moving around nowhere, then a way to fix that, you can do Shift and scroll wheel down like I taught you and kind of like move over to it. Or you can simply press Shift and C. Shift C will basically realign you to the center and everything is good. One last thing as well before we get started with the modeling. My Blender looks a bit different to how yours will look by default. As you see, I have these like harsher edges and you can see the texture. Basically, this is my viewport shading settings. You want to copy these if you want it to look like mine, but it's not a massive deal. It doesn't affect your final product. By default, Blender looks something like this. So all you have to do is just go here to this little arrow to go to the viewport shading settings. I like to go to Flat, Texture, turn on Shadow and Cavity, and then that is everything done. Should look more like this. Now to get started with the actual concept, I'm going to be making a traffic cone hat. I thought it'd be a cool, cute little item that I could teach you guys how to make. As for the traffic cone, it depends how you want it to look. There are many ways you can approach your models, and usually it's quite easy to just take an image and break it down. So you see here in Photoshop, I kind of like draw out a little traffic cone. So basically for a traffic cone, classic traffic cone is basically just a circle like that. You've got a bit of depth to it, so you got that kind of like base with a bit of depth to it. And then kind of on the inside, you got another ring with basically just a sphere coming along it, something like that. That is basically what a traffic cone looks like. Another way you can have a traffic cone is you can have more of a square base. So if you want your base to be more square, something like this, you could work with a shape like this, just like that, and you kind of got a more chunky one. And what you can actually do in Blender is you can bevel edges. By beveling edges, you'll get like rounder corners. These corners would be much rounder, but you wouldn't be entirely spherical. So for these shapes, for this one right here, for this to achieve this look, you will literally just go and you will use a cylinder. You'll start with a cylinder. For this one, you would want to start with a cube, because of the way that the shapes are. I already have a video on how to make a top hat. So if you want to learn how to make like a more round kind of traffic cone, I suggest just watching my top hat tutorial. This is basically just a top hat with a smaller top. The top is just smaller. If you think about it, you got the base, and with the top hat, it's literally the same, just the top is flat. So basically, if you want to make this one, just go check out my top hat tutorial. I'll put a link in the description. So in this video, I'm going to be making this cube one. However, it will look better than a cube. So to get started, you basically just want to do Shift A, and then it comes up with this add menu. You've got all these options. We're going to go to mesh, and then we're going to add a cube mesh. Now that we have this cube added, you'll see that it spawns kind of down here. Sometimes you might have a problem where your cube spawns like over there. If your cube spawns all the way over here, that is just your 3D cursor that has been moved. This little red dot is your 3D cursor. To reset your 3D cursor back to the middle, just do Shift and C like we did before. Basically what that does is it adds like the 3D cursor back to the center. So you can just delete this cube, do Shift A again, mesh and cube. Now that we've got this cube added, everything is good. Now to get started with our hat. What we are going to do is we are going to do G to move. The G key will move the mesh that you have selected. Sometimes you might have the wrong thing selected. So if you've got the character selected, it'll move your character, but we don't want that. So yeah, basically, if you've got nothing selected, nothing will move. Make sure you click on the cube. Click on the cube to move it. Let's do G to move and Z. What Z does is it basically locks it on this Z axis. If you're American, I think you call it Z key. But basically, it'll lock it on the axis. And what this allows you to do is move it up to the head. To understand these axes better, you can see the different lines. You can see right here, we've got the green line, we've got the red line. You don't actually see the blue line by default, but you see it if you go into the orthographic views right here. Look at this little diagram up here in the corner. This diagram actually shows you all the different axis things. And that might help you to, understand it a bit better. Yeah, you basically want to use the G and Z key to like move it up to around the height where you want your hat to be. And I'm actually going to move it so that this little golden dot, which is the origin, is in line with the very top of the head. So a trick I'm going to teach you guys to keep this cube centralized is basically click the number 1 key on your numpad. The numpad is like the numbers to the right of your keyboard. And basically, if you click number 1, it'll lock you in front view. The front view is good because it allows you to see like front on your model. And basically, you can also use the 3 key on your number pad to go to side view and the 7 key to go to top. If you do not have a number pad though, do not worry. I know a lot of people are absolutely stupid and have a 60% keyboard. So if you have a 60% keyboard or you just don't have a number pad, basically just come up here to this little diagram thing here, and you can just click on one of the views. So you can click here on -Y, and it'll put you in the view. And you can do the same for X and Z. So basically you can switch to all of these views right here, and it will help you a lot in trying to line your models up. Basically you want to go into the front view here. So you're going to press number 1 on your number pad or click on the -Y. And basically now what you want to do is you want to click Z and go to wireframe. Wireframe mode basically allows you to see through your models, but with all the lines there. This just makes it easier to kind of like line everything up through a model. Another way to change between solid mode and wireframe is just to click up here on the right between this option here and this option, so you can see the solid mode and wireframe. There are 2 other options here, material preview and render. However, we do not need these modes. They are much more advanced. So basically what we want to do is we want to go to wireframe here, and what we want to do is again do G to move and Z to lock to that Z axis. And that little golden dot in the middle of the cube we have here, we want to line that up with the very top of the head. And as you can see now, that is more or less perfect. Move it down a bit more, and there we go. That golden dot is perfectly centralized. So now what we want to do is we actually want to go here and scale this down so that it just fits that little bit better. So to scale it, we are going to scale it twice. Once to get this whole like general shape to just fit around the head, and once again to scale the height. So to scale this down, we're just going to press S on our keyboard, and as you see, if you move your mouse, it will basically just scale up and down. We want to go somewhere about here, so it just goes a little bit wider than the head, but not, not perfectly in line with the head. And left click to confirm. Now what we want to do is we want to scale the height. As you see right now, this thing is just a big cube on the head. So to fix this, we're going to do S to scale. And like we did before, we're going to press Z. And Z allows us to scale on that Z axis. This is very handy because you can kind of make it thinner whilst keeping everything the same, which, just what you want. Basically, what we're going to do here is we're going to scale to somewhere around here. I think that is good for the base. So what we've built right here is we've basically gone and built this square part. So this square part at the bottom, at the base, that is what we've built so far. Next part we want to build is we want to build this little top part. which is going to be very simple with the method I show you. So basically now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using edit mode for the first time. So what we've been doing now is we've literally just been working in object mode. Object mode is super simple. Literally, it's just a matter of getting your objects and scaling them up, moving them around, stuff like that. So, you could build models with just object mode. You could import cylinders. You could use cylinders and just kind of like move them around. However, edit mode is where things get interesting. Edit mode allows you to see all of the vertices individually and start shifting stuff around and getting to create more complex shapes. To enter edit mode, just select the mesh that you want to go into edit mode on, and basically just on the left here where it says object mode, click on it and then go to edit mode. This is faster to just go tab. If you press the tab key on your keyboard, it'll just go in and out of edit mode between edit mode and object mode. So I just use tab. So if you want to see how I do it faster, I just use tab. When you're in edit mode here, you can see that everything is selected and you have all these golden dots there. So what we're going to do is we're going to want to deselect them all. Basically, this yellowy gold color means that everything is selected. However, if it goes black, it isn't selected. So to deselect everything here, you want to press Alt and A on your keyboard. When you press Alt A, basically what it does is it goes and deselects everything. And as you see, everything is black. Now that everything has been deselected, we can select what we want to edit. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to go up here on the left. And you see these three options? There is vertex select, edge select, and face select. What these little modes are is they allow us to have different selection modes. As you see right now, these little black things are called vertices. Vertices are these little dots that make up your models. And then the next mode we have is edge mode. Edge mode is just the edges that take up your model. So as you see here, we've got all these edges. So every edge on your model. And again, I like to think it's pretty self-explanatory at this point. The face mode is the faces on your model. So as you see here, we've got all these different faces that make up our model. For this, we're going to be using face mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically click on this top face here. Make sure you select this very top face on your model. And what you want to do with this is you want to do I. The I key will create like another face on the inside. This tool is called the inset tool. You want to go about what looks to be something like an inch inwards. So once you're happy with how far in it is, you can left click. And as you see now, we have this second face on the inside. So now we've got his face on the inside, we want to kind of create that bit coming up. So as you see right now, we haven't got it, but we want to have that bit coming up. So to create that, it's really simple. So select the face, just this one on the inside, and then press E. And what E will do is, it will extrude it upwards. You want to go fairly high, somewhere around here, should be good. And now what we want to do is, at the top of the traffic cone, you'll actually see it's a lot smaller. Yeah, so we want to be kind of achieving that smaller look. To do that, it's really simple. Just go to Blender and then press S to scale. Well, actually got that top face selected. Scale it to somewhere where you're happy with it. I'm happy with it about here. So as you see here, we've kind of got this cool looking traffic cone shape. However, it's not done. I'm going to be showing you how to get this to look a little bit better here. You know, that's what I'm here to teach you. So I think this thing will look better rounded, but I wanted to have that kind of square look. I wanted to have that square look whilst also having nice rounded edges. So we are going to bevel it. To bevel, we want to basically go back into edit mode and change from face mode to edge mode. The edge one's the one in the middle. And I'm going to teach you a trick here to select stuff easier. Basically, what we want to do here is we want to select the edges we want to round. And the edges that we want to round are these edges right here, the ones that I'm highlighting. You'll see there's some edges right here, these ones right here, and basically all four. There should be 4 different ones, and there will be one at the back, somewhere around here, something like that. We want to be beveling those edges to create that rounded look. So what we're going to do is we basically want to get our mouse and hover over somewhere along this line we want to select. Press the Alt key. And whilst holding the Alt key, you want to click. And what this does is basically it'll select the whole line. So usually if you just click, it'll just select this one face, this one edge. However, by doing Alt click, you'll see it actually selects these edges down here, which is very helpful. And what we want to do now is we want to do Shift and Alt click. And basically what Shift does is it allows you to select multiple things at once. Because if you Alt click something here, and then Alt click over here, it deselects this. So by doing Shift, it includes that to the selection. So do Shift, Alt click here, Shift, Alt click here, and then Shift, Alt click here. And now you'll see we have all these edges that we wanted selected. And then what we want to do now is we want to bevel them. To bevel these edges, you literally just do Control B on your keyboard. Well, now that I've done Control B, you'll see that it starts to round the edges. But then this is quite a low poly bevel. You know, you might want this look, you might want this low poly beveled look. However, I don't. I want to make it a lot more kind of round and smooth. So to achieve that smooth look, again, do Control B to bevel. But this time, you want to just scroll up. By scrolling up, it will add more loops to the bevel. I think somewhere around that will look good. Bevel something like that. And left click. Once you left click, it will confirm it. And as you see, we're starting to get a much smoother traffic cone look. As you see though, these edges are really sharp. You can kind of see each edge coming through to give it that low poly look. I'm not trying to get that low poly look here. If I was going for the low poly look, I'd want the distribution of edges to be a bit more even. So we're going to smooth them. To smooth them, it's very simple. You basically want to go back into edit mode. I like to use vertex mode just to make sure everything gets smooth. So you go back to vertex select, and then what you want to do is you want to press A. Pressing A will select everything. So remember, A to select everything, and to deselect everything, you want to do Alt A. So when you press A, go over here to the Face tab, click Face, and then click Shade Smooth. And now that I've clicked it, you'll see that the whole thing has gone smooth. However, it has some shading imperfections. Like around here, there's this weird line. That's an easy fix. Basically, what you want to do is you want to go to the Object Data Properties, which is this little triangular icon here. Then go to the Normals tab, and then tick Auto Smooth. This little value here, this number, is basically the angle it will smooth. So if you want it to smooth a lot, you can increase this angle quite a lot. If you want it to be only slightly smooth, you can then go and decrease that number. And as you see, it's not as smooth. I usually like to use a number around the 50 region. I feel like it works best for kind of like cartoony kind of items. However, it's up to your personal preference. As for the actual model, this is more or less done. It looks like a traffic cone, has a cool look, and I don't think it's too bad. At this point, it's up to you to try and kind of like come up with a few more unique little bits you can add to it yourself. And yeah, it'll be soon on to texturing. You know, you can always try stuff. Like you can always select like a loop here and then scale it in to kind of like, you know, add some more funkiness to it. And you might want to make the whole thing bigger, for example. You might want to have a bigger traffic cone out, something like that. It's just about playing around with it, seeing what you like. Another cool thing you might want to have is some traffic cones have like a stripe down the middle. So you want to do something like that. Control R will loop cut. And basically you can see it kind of has this golden loop it creates wherever you hover over. So we want to hover over here so that the golden loop appears going round the tube part. And then don't click anything, scroll up. And the more you scroll up is the more loop cuts it will add. So you could add loads if you wanted. However, we just want 2 here. And if you click, and when it goes to 2, left click, and then right click. Left click and right click will basically just add this 2 loops in the center. And now we've got these loops, you want to keep these 2 loops selected. If you accidentally deselect everything, just go and Alt select this loop, and then Shift Alt select this loop again. And now what we want to do is, we want to do Alt and E, and then select Extrude Faces along normals. And this will basically just allow you to kind of like inset that a little bit, something like that, to add that cool little kind of stripe that some traffic cones have. And now we're really starting to get more advanced and more detailed with our model. And you can just use different techniques to add more stuff. You might want to add some nails. You might want to go to Add, Mesh, Cylinder. And as you see, it imports a cylinder down here. There should be a little option in the bottom where it says Add Cylinder to open up these properties. I'm going to do 8 vertices for the cylinder to kind of create a more low poly cylinder. And then we're going to go up here and just kind of start moving stuff around. You don't have to follow along with this part of the tutorial. This is more for the people trying to really elevate their work. So if you're getting a bit lost right now, just skip to the texturing part to learn how to add colors to them. But as for the nails and stuff, you might want to do something like this. Like add like a little nail in one corner, somewhere around there. As you see, we've got a nice little nail. Might shade that smooth as well here. So do face shade smooth. And then add a little auto smooth tick box thing. And something like that. And as you see, it looks pretty good. I'm going to bevel the top of this with Control B again. Kind of bevel something like that. And as you see, we've got a little nail there. And if you want to get this nail in every single corner of the traffic cone, you could do this and duplicate it and put it in every corner. However, if you want this to be perfectly even and fast, what you can do is you can basically just select the nail, go to the little wrench modifier thing here, add modifier, and then add a mirror modifier. And now that you've got this mirror modifier added, you can go to the mirror object. And what the mirror object is basically the object that the object you're mirroring is mirrored on. So basically you see here, this traffic cone, the origin, the little golden spot, is in the middle. So that origin will be used as the mirror pivot location if we select that as the mirror object. So go here to the nail, go to the modifier properties, and then where it says mirror object, click the little dropper tool, and then select the cone. And now that you've got the cone selected, you'll see by default it has the x-axis ticked, and as you see, it'll kind of like add another nail here in the other corner. And then also you want to tick the y-axis. The y-axis will now add it in the other half. And as you see here, there are now 4 nails perfectly evenly spaced apart. Another little detail you might want to add is you might want to go here on the main cone bit again. In edit mode, alt select the loop at the top. And then if you do I to inset, something like that, and then E to extrude downwards, it kind of creates that hollow look that a lot of traffic cones have. And then if you want to change the width, you can do S to scale, and then Shift Z to scale on every axis apart from the Z. And now what we can do is we can basically just move this inside bit down and out. Basically what this does is now it just has that nice hollow inside. That's about as detailed as a kind of cartoony traffic cone can go, if I'm completely honest with you. So not anything else I can really suggest here. It's up to you. We're now going to get onto the texturing. I'm just going to be teaching you how to use a gradient palette here. It's beginner friendly, simple, and it looks good. So it's probably the most effective method for a beginner. So what we're going to do here is we're going to basically select the mesh. If you've got a few different parts, like we have the nails here, an easy way to join everything is to basically select everything apart from the dummy. So select everything, you can deselect the dummy here, and then make sure that the traffic cone body is the last thing you selected. So make sure the kind of like yellowy, the light yellow orangey kind of color outline is around the traffic cone. Do Alt and C. And what Alt C does is it allows you to convert to. We're going to convert it to a mesh. This will apply all modifiers. Now that we've converted it to a mesh, we'll do Control J. And this will now join everything. It's all one mesh. Easy. So what we want to do now is we want to basically go to the material properties. And the material properties will be where we're going to add the gradient palette. So click on material properties and then click the little plus new. You can rename it if you want. I'm going to call it traffic cone texture, just to keep everything organized. And then what we can do is where it says base color, there's a little yellow dot. Click on that yellow dot and then do image texture. Before we go and actually apply the material, the texture palette thing, you need to actually have a texture palette. The one that I'll be using, and I suggest you use, is a perfectly free one, you know, royalty free, all that stuff. And it's by a YouTuber called Infenzia. It's a really good YouTube channel that shows like low poly modeling and stuff. I'll link the gradient palette down below, but do check out Infenzia if you haven't. Basically just download that palette linked in the description and make sure you know where you saved it. Now click the open button here, this little open bullet button, and then you want to navigate into your files where you saved it. As you see, I've got mine here, Infenzia color palette. Click on it and then do open image. And if you did copy my settings before, you'll see that I've got the texture on. If you don't have texture on, by default, Blender puts you on material in the color options. Make sure that you have texture on. Texture basically means that texture has passed through so that you can actually see it in object mode. You can also use material preview here. However, material preview just doesn't have good lighting and it just looks rubbish. So I prefer using solid mode, and that is that. But yeah, as you see by default, the whole thing's a bit buggy. Like you kind of see there's colors everywhere. We're going to now choose what colors go where on this traffic cone. So to do that, we're going to click on our traffic cone hat, and then we're going to go over here to UV editing. Now that we're on UV editing, you'll basically see all the different, all the different stuff in here. And make sure that if everything looks default again, sometimes when you go to this UV editing tab, it resets all your defaults. So just go over here by hovering over this top bar, scrolling, and then go down here to the texture thing and just copy my settings again, just so that you've got everything so you can see the texture and stuff here. We're now going to go into the face select mode here. So we're going to face select mode. Basically, you want to choose what colors we want different bits to be. So here we've got our traffic cone hat. And what I basically want to do is I want to plan what color goes where. So you see we've got like an orange here. So I think I'll do like a deep dark orange here for like this bit of the hat. So basically be mostly this dark kind of like orange, not dark, but kind of like quite a vibrant orange. Now also do that orange for this top bit. If you haven't got this much detail in your model, it isn't a big deal. You just have to do more basic colors. But we can basically now go and I'm gonna do a little lighter orange on this bit where I've inset it to allow it to be basically a bit more defined. And as you see, I've also got some nails. So those nails, I'm just gonna do some gray for the nails, like that. So I have the nice gray nails, and that's my plan sorted. So basically, I just now need to separate these parts. So you can do this by selecting a face here. So if I select a face and then shift select, shift select, shift select, shift select, you can do that. However, you can do what I did before with the edges. You can do Alt and click. And what Alt click will do is it will select every face all the way around if there is a clear defined loop. And this is very handy. What we want to do now is we want to press 1 on our number pad again, or use this little thing up here. We want to make sure we're in side view because it's important when projecting from view. And basically we want to press U, project from view. And as you see, it basically projects it. And we can select this shell here and then scale it down and put it to the color we want. So I'm going to go for like quite a bright orange here. And as you can see, that bit we've just done has like a nice bright orange look now. And what we want to do is basically want to now select what color we want the next bit to be. So I'm going to go here and do the thing I did before. Do Alt select this loop. And then I'm going to do Shift Alt select on this loop. And I'm going to do this to select everything. Basically, right now, I'm just selecting everything I want to be that darker orange. So, most of the model now. And that is it, I think, selected. So again, press number 1 on our number pad, go into side view, and then do U, project from view. And again, we have the shell pop up here. And now we're going to scale this down with S. We're going to make it just a darker orange. Something like that looks good. And last but not least, we are going to select the nails. A simple way to select a completely separate mesh like these nails is to hover your mouse over the nail. And once your mouse is hovered over it, press the L key. And this will basically just select the entire mesh connected to where your mouse is hovering over. So use again, just do L. And you don't even have to press shift. When you're doing the L key, it just keeps adding to the selection. And you can do this, and there we go. We've got all nails selected. Again, number 1, now a number pad, U, project from view. And with these nails, we can basically just scale them down and put them in a grey. And as you see, they've got a nice grey gradient. And that is about it for how to make a traffic cone hat UGC item. I really hope you found this helpful. Again, leave a like and subscribe if you did. Hopefully, I'll get to see you in my next video. Bye.